Hi, my name is Angela and welcome to the Clutter Cutter. Here at the Clutter Cutter we're passionate about organising, decluttering and having a welcoming home, as well as mental well-being and how to improve that. So today's episode we're going to be looking at the link between clutter and stress and anxiety. So I do hope you enjoy. Please like and subscribe if you like what you see, and any comments please pop them down below. So I'd really started to consider the link between clutter and the state of your home and the state of your mind and how you would feel when I noticed that I would start to feel much more anxious when my house wasn't really how I wanted it to be. So the little piles that will build over time naturally as we're busy, when things are going on, particularly if my stepdaughter's here. She's 10 years old, so she'll leave things in little places and her room is stressful at times, but I'd notice those sorts of feelings and I'd really wonder why it really affected me so much, why I felt so down sometimes when it was like that, or really anxious. I'd be quite snappy with people. I say I would be as if it's past tense. I can be very snappy with people if the home isn't in a nice way that I feel that it should look. And then I thought, gosh, is this just me? Because my partner would say, it's not a show home, it's our home, and you need to relax a little bit. The difference is that I felt and my partner felt around clutter and disorganisation within the home had really got me thinking. And I came across a study from UCLA, and what they'd actually found was that women who lived in an environment with clutter had much higher levels of cortisol in them than the average. Now, cortisol, of course, is the stress hormone. They then compared and looked at males who had a cluttered environment, and they did not see much difference at all from the average level of cortisol to what these males had within them. And so they came up with the theory that, stereotypically this is, that women, when they think of a happy home, think of a tidy and organised and clear home, one that people are then able to enjoy. Whereas men just did not seem to have the same level of expectations as women. Now, obviously I do want to say that I recognise this is a massive generalisation, and that isn't to say that there are males who have that same level of stress and anxiety that they may experience within their home. But this was just one study that again furthered even more my thinking around this and kind of my interest in the links. So as I researched more into this, I came across a psychologist called Sherrie Bourg Carter, and she's conducted research into the mental cost of clutter. And she feels that this is actually perhaps an under-recognised area really, because it does have a really significant impact on our well-being. This is an environment that we're living in every day. We wake up in it, we go to sleep in it, we spend a lot of time in it. So the article that I came across had 8 causes and 8 remedies in relation to her research. So I'm going to go through them one by one with you. Number 1, clutter bombards our mind with additional stimuli. So this means that our brain is taking extra energy to process all of the information that is around us. Now this can be draining and this can be exhausting, which obviously will then feed into stress and anxiety experience. Number 2, she found that clutter drew our attention away from other areas in our life. She found that people were unable to focus on tasks at hand when they had in the back of their mind all these different other areas within their home that they were not able to use functionally. Now I've personally experienced this when I may need to work on some creative task at home and I'm unable to focus if my desk isn't clear and if I haven't got that space, because the space in front of me feels like space within my mind, if that makes sense. So number 3, that the clutter made it more difficult for people to relax both physically and mentally. Now this absolutely seems common sense, I suppose, if you think when people have piles of stuff all around the place. So I've seen where people are unable to actually get into their own bed because they've got stuff all piled up around them, or when they're unable to sit and relax in their living room because they again have piles or boxes or all these sorts of things in the way. So physically your body is unable to rest, stretch, unwind. And then mentally, so again, feeding back into that additional stimuli around you, your brain is taking in all of this information and your brain is looking and thinking, gosh, look at all of this stuff that I'm gonna have to do. And that feeds into Point 4 that she found, that clutter actually signals to our brain our work is never done, because there are, again, all these different areas that something needs to be done with, and the brain will look around and go, I don't know where to start, and that then will turn into increased cortisol and increased stress. Point 5, and this is particularly pertinent if you have a number of areas in your home that need work doing, or if you've got the dreaded piles and piles of paperwork. The clutter will make us anxious because we don't know where to begin or when we're going to get to the bottom of that pile. There is sort of almost a perception of a never-ending process there, because there is just such an overwhelm of all the stuff that is there in front of us. So number 6, clutter will create a feeling of guilt. Now this will often feed into the ways that we'll talk to ourselves in our mind. So, I'm lazy, I should be able to be on top of this, I'll never have a home how I want, all those sorts of things. Again, the repetitive negative statements that we'll say to us within our mind that will actually again further influence and increase our feelings of anxiety, our feelings of stress, and our feelings of depression. And it's a vicious cycle. So number 7, clutter will inhibit our productivity and our creativeness. And I had kind of touched on this earlier actually, when I spoke about my own work. And actually when I have to design something, I find it very difficult to sit down and focus on that task when I look around and I can see that there's all sorts of things around me that need doing. I was very much the same when I was younger. I wasn't able to revise for exams or put plans together and things if the area around me wasn't clear. And finally, number 8. So this one focuses very much on the frustration that people will experience when they cannot locate their stuff. So I would always recommend, of course, having a set place. However, when your home is chaotic, when there's clutter everywhere, people will put things down, they won't know where they've put them, and they then can't come to find them when that vital time is that they need them. So that obviously increases that stress and that anxiety and that frustration and that loss of control actually, because it feels chaotic. So if you feel chaotic in your environment, you feel chaotic within yourself. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Sherrie actually also came up with 8 ideas of ways to get you started on that track of getting organised and getting a bit more control over your own environment. So for the first one, Sherrie has said to get you started, to get that momentum, get others involved with you. So whether that's asking friends to come over, whether that's asking family members to come over, or even partners and getting them involved and explaining to them, one, the impact of how you feel when the environment is like that, and also asking them to kind of help you to go through and design those processes to declutter those cupboards and to help you focus on the benefits of not getting rid of, because I don't like that term, but giving that item to someone else, or releasing those sorts of items that you've held on to for so long that actually have no meaning anymore. So the second one is something that we're going to be focusing on a lot within this series and on this channel, and that is creating designated spaces for your item, but functional designated spaces. So Sherrie really recommends ideally using things behind closed doors, because that will give the illusion of a clear space. So having less items on the surface, ensuring that there are clear, tidy areas, ensuring that everything has a place within your home. And I think it's really key if we focus on what she had said around actually having items out creates an additional stressor, because there's stimuli, there's more for your brain to process. Having those clear surfaces can lead to you feeling calmer and more in control. So number 3, she suggested being really honest with yourself. If you don't use it, if you don't need it, and if you don't like it, rehome it. Now that doesn't mean throwing things away. I mean, for me, I'm very much passionate about reusing things if I can. So if there is an item that's useful but you don't like how it looks, think about painting it or doing something to revamp it. If you don't like it, or you don't use it, or you don't need it, you can do free cycle, you can give to charity shop. There's all sorts of different things that you can do to release those items and to give them a new lease of life, or to someone who perhaps needs them. Number 4, if you take something out of its designated space, as you would have created from tip 1, make sure you put it back in that place. Now this is going to take time, and it will especially take time if you have family members. I know from my own experience with my stepdaughter, if I create little zones and there's in my head, really simple, easy way to pop it back there. It's done, don't have to worry about it. She still needs prompting for some time until she starts to pick up on that, and then it becomes a process. And that's what we want to do here, is we want easy processes that are fluid, that can become habits, and those habits are going to release that mind stress. It's going to release that tension because it's one less thing to think about. And there's my lovely dog barking, sorry about that. So as I said in a previous video, you might hear the pitter-patter of the tiny puggle feet. Very cute, but they do like to kind of get involved in my videos. Okay, so point 5 that she has, I would exercise caution with. I think that it can be useful, but only if you can be disciplined. So she recommends creating a pending folder. And so this is at the end of the day, particularly a working day, and for those who work from home, getting all those bits of paper together, popping them to the side in your pending folder, knowing that you're going to address them. So for me, I would set a time limit on that. Have a certain day, a certain time that you go through that and you declutter and you organise those spaces. Number 6, I think we're all massively guilty of this, and it does slightly feed into the last point actually, but that's paper pile-ups. Now I know, if I'm being completely honest, I've got paper piles by the front door for when the junk mail and things come in, so I can bin that straight away and I can keep those letters. I also have other areas throughout the house that things are dotted, going, well, I'm going to come to that at an allotted time. And that allotted time may not come because life gets in the way. So again, making that plan and having a process to ensure that you're going to get that done. So go through the papers, sort what's important, sort what isn't important. And my absolute best friend is a shredder. As soon as it comes in, try it, and again, build that habit of getting it to go out. But I think it's also important to mention here, being kind to yourself. So as I've said, I'm nowhere near perfect. My paperwork does pile up at times. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just make a start. And that may be setting 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and start there, because just that 15 minutes is a success, and there you're further along than you were before you started. So for point 7, she said about decluttering your primary workspace before you leave it. So for me, that could be my desk, which I try and keep really clean and tidy. But actually also, this could translate into other areas within your home. So I know for me, I find it really hard. So for my kitchen, I like the sides clear. I like them clean. I like the dishwasher to be empty. I don't want anything left in the sink overnight. I like to come down and have a fresh start. And the final one, number 8, which is my favourite, is make it fun. Put a bit of music on, enjoy yourself, make a bit of a game out of it, particularly if you've got children. So with my stepdaughter, we'll try and incentivise her with certain things and make it an enjoyable process. Get everybody involved and just have a bit of fun with it. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our episode. Just starting to look at the link between clutter, anxiety and stress. I do hope that you've enjoyed today's video, and I hope that you've taken something from it. Now, I'd really like it if you would post a comment below suggesting videos that you might like to see in future. And also, what is your number 1 decluttering tip? Thank you, bye bye.